Hello everybody, this is Iced Blood. Welcome back to Dark Souls 2. Today we're going to be going through the rest of the Forest of Fallen Giants. We're going to try and track down the first boss. So, a little recap on last time. We got a couple of bonfires and we got ourselves a couple pieces of new gear. We are now rocking a shield and a helmet with a feather on it because we're badass like that. But now let's put that to the test. I hope I won't regret this. Let's see what we've got here in the forest at the new bonfire we just opened up. Alright, here we go, and we are going deeper into the abyss. Down is always the direction to go in Dark Souls. Let's see. The funny thing is, like, I have this tendency to still like to fight two-handed even with a shield. Primarily because, well, apparently I like to die. Because the, Jesus. Hold on. This is gonna... Alright. That went well. Alright, excellent start to the episode. What I was gonna say is I have a tendency to want to fight two-handed despite the fact that I have a shield, because the shield does not block all physical damage. We don't have a 100% physical block shield yet. We're a little ways from one of those, I think. But perhaps whatever percentage is blocked by this shield would be better than, well, that. Whatever that was. So let's see. I want to see if we can get one at a time. Maybe this will be better. No, alright, we'll use it. We'll use it. Okay, that's not so bad. Okay, see, there we go. That's better. Alright. My mistake. Do not trust me when it comes to this. I should probably just attack them right out and not wait for them to stand up. I think I can still hit them. Alright, so we'll go in here. Uh-oh, there's fog there. That means progression. Theoretically. Usually that does mean you're going the right way. Usually the fog doors mean that you're heading into an area you've never been, and in Dark Souls that typically means you're doing it right. But don't necessarily trust me on that. Sometimes it's a side path, sometimes it's a trap. Ooh, look at that. Backstab. That was a mainstay for Dark Souls 1, and to a lesser extent for Demon Souls. That and parrying. I will admit I'm not all that good at parrying in this game, and backstabs are harder than they were in Dark Souls 1. In Dark Souls 1, I was actually pretty good at parrying and backstabbing, so maybe when we go to that one, you get to see my true prowess as a Souls player. Doubtful, but, you know, I like to dream. We will at some point go to Dark Souls 1, and I don't feel too bad about doing this one first, because they are separate entities. Basically, it'll feel like a prequel, because I think that this world of Drangleic is set in the future of Lordran from Dark Souls 1. I'm not positive. The lore in this series is somewhat iffy. Not to say that it doesn't exist, it's just it's very open to interpretation, which is something this series is kind of known for. I mean, like, all these zombies that we're fighting, who are they? We don't really know. We never really do find out either. Now, their armor pieces might have some element of an answer. Like, if they happen to drop their armor or their gloves or something like that, we might be able to figure something out about them. But typically it's very obscure, not all that informative. And that's kind of how this series works. It doesn't tell you much. In order to figure out the story, you have to go looking for it. Which means, I guess on one level, if you're the sort of player who doesn't really care about story, then it isn't, you know, you don't have to go through it. You don't have to sit through tons of cutscenes and basically do what I'm asking you to do with Final Fantasy 13. This is definitely a whole different kettle of fish compared to that game, and I think that's part of the reason why I like doing them both at the same time. And hopefully you're enjoying that. Okay, there we go. Remember, like I said last time, and I have to remember this sometimes too, always be patient. Always go slow and methodical. Now, okay, speed does have its points. There are some enemies where it is actually good to rush in before they can react. That does happen sometimes. But for the most part, the name of the game is slow, methodical, calm. That does not mean to back up nearly as much as I tend to be doing, actually, because that can be dangerous. It's often good just to stay within their melee range, which will kind of force them to kill me. What I was trying to say before IB decided to prove me wrong was that it's sometimes safer to stay within their melee range, because that's all they'll do. They won't bring out some extra attacks that you won't be expecting. They won't start throwing shit at you. They won't charge at you. They won't switch up their attack patterns, and sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a lot easier to handle things if you just kind of work around them instead of trying to keep your distance. Now, of course, this will be entirely different if I were using spells or a bow and arrow. Then obviously I would need to keep range. But we're a melee build, so we're up in the thick of things, and sometimes that's hard to remember. Sometimes, because of the way the game's structured, every hit takes a good chunk out of your health. So it's not just the enemies that are weak defensively. So are we. As you've seen, because I've died twice in this video. And then that kind of lends itself to being kind of scared, because I don't want to die. And we still have this concept in our heads, typically speaking, this is definitely true for me, where dying is something to avoid. You don't want to die. And there are rewards in this one in particular. Now, this isn't the case with the other Souls games, but in this game, there is a bonus that you get for completing the game without dying. By which I mean completing the last boss without dying. So I'm assuming that one of the main strategies there is to avoid certain optional bosses. We won't be doing that. Obviously, we have ruined our chances of getting that special ring. It's a ring that you can get. Visions of Sadness. I don't know what they're talking about there. Yeah, we've ruined our chances for that since we've died 3 times now. So there's no point in really avoiding death. But for the most part, regardless of that knowledge, regardless of that understanding, there's still the tendency to view death as a punishment. Death is something to avoid, and clearly if all you do is die, you're not going to make any progress. But still, there is something to keep in mind here with these games, is that dying is not permanent. You don't lose everything when you die, and honestly, if you're careful, you might not lose anything at all. You can pick up your souls, and all you've lost is maybe a couple of minutes. Which in a game like this that takes, a long time to complete, well, that's not so bad. I mean, I think if you're going to play a game like this, and then you need to put the investment in. This is one of those things where you just plain don't have the time to put in 50 to 100 hours. This game's probably not for you. And obviously, don't take my understanding of this, don't take these words as me telling you what to do. If you want to try it, go for it, even if you have limited time. I mean, I've only done 20 minutes each episode so far, and we've made decent progress. But for the most part, I do believe that if you don't have the time to put in the investment that these games require, the game won't forgive you. It will not make it easy. This is not a game you can pick up and play for... Well, I mean, you can. You can pick up and play for 20 minutes and then, turn it off. But the thing is, that can be difficult, particularly if, you're dying a lot. So, basically what I'm saying is, I think that if you don't have much free time, then these games probably won't do it for you. You might want to pick something more suited to that. And there are plenty of really, really good games that are suited to short play sessions. I recently picked up The Binding of Isaac Rebirth because I'm a bandwagoner like that. There's a prime example. of a game that doesn't take much time. This one is not the case. That's not how this one works. So, take that with the proverbial grain of salt, because I don't know everything. But anyway, those witching urns actually prove useful. It's the first time I've actually used those. See, we're learning things all over the place, because, yeah, I never did much with the projectile items. Like the weapons, like the bow and arrow. I've used those before, and they were fine, but I've never actually used the items like throwing knives or these witching urns that we got, or any of the other types of those. There are plenty of those. And I never bothered with them. In Dark Souls 1, they were basically useless. In this one, they have their place. They have their place, and I should feel bad for thinking they were useless. They have shown that they are not. There's something else here. Where the hell? Okay, no, not there. I could swear there was something. Aha! Here we go. Ah! Poison! No. Not good. Not good. Better. Titanite shard. That will be very useful for upgrading our equipment, which I don't think I'm going to start doing until we reach a point where it's a weapon we're going to use for a while, or an armor set we're going to use for a while. This initial stuff, I'm not going to bother upgrading. If I can, avoid it, which hopefully I can. I don't want to reach a point where I have to upgrade a weapon purely for one boss and then replace it with a new thing immediately. Hey, someone new. That's rare. What's up, dude?
Hello there. Traveling all alone in these treacherous times.
Oh, I'm not alone. I've got my sword.
Well, I hope you have a very good reason.
No, not really.
Oh, hogwash. Who am I to judge? My name is Pate.
Hello, Pate.
I journey hither and thither on a sort of treasure hunt, you might call it. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself.
Really? That actually presents a good point, actually. Because, I mean, what's the necessary part of any protagonist's journey in fiction? Their motivation. What are they doing? What do they want? There's 3 rules that I've heard, or 3 questions to ask yourself whenever you're building a character in a story. And question 1 is, what do they want? Question 2 is, why can't they have it? Question 3 is, why should I care? And the interesting part about the way that this game is structured is we really don't know what our character wants. We know what the rest of the world wants our character to do. The Emerald Herald told us we need to find the king. And we need to kill the 4 with immense souls to reach him. But, I mean, and obviously, considering how this game works, we can't just decide we don't want to do that. I mean, you could, theoretically. You could just spend your entire time with the game just going around random levels and killing things. Certainly, I've been known to do that with certain games. If I'm just, bored and I don't want to progress. I mean, that's kind of what RPGs are for sometimes. But for the most part, like, the way the game is structured is obviously we're supposed to move forward. We're supposed to do this quest. But then, why is our character doing it? Why are we risking ourselves so often and so readily? Clearly, because, I'm playing so well today. Why are we spending that time? Why are we making that investment? Why are we trying to make it through Drangleic and getting to the king? We don't know. And this is one of those things where the game never tells you. You have to decide for your character why you're doing this. What's your character's mission? And that's an interesting way to do a role-playing game, because this is definitely an RPG. In that, the game does not give you a role to play. You have to pick one. Make up your own kind of thing. Which, of course, you don't have to, which is nice. It's not like it's shoved into your face in case you don't necessarily want to think through that. But for people that do, you can. Like, it's a blank slate. You can decide, why is your character doing this? Maybe IB is a soldier that died on the battlefield against the giants, because there was a war with the giants, I believe. Maybe he's angry at the king for, sending him out to die and leaving his family to waste away and starve. And maybe he's looking to find the king in order to extract vengeance. Maybe that's what he's doing. Or maybe he doesn't actually know, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe he's one of those amnesiac protagonists. You know what those are. You know, I know I'm basically giving you a bunch of cliches, but let's face it, I like cliches, and they're around for a reason. I mean, you know, so I mean, it could work. I'm saying I mean a lot. I'm sorry. It could work, you know, and that's the fun part. You could come up with as simple or as complex a reason for your character to exist and be in this world as you can, and nothing will stop you. There is nothing in the game to get in the way of that. There's no way to break the immersion of why your character is doing whatever he or she is doing, because the game isn't interested in telling the character where to go. All the game is doing, all this world is doing, is showing us what it is and what its other denizens are doing. It does not force you or help you to do anything. So that's kind of my personal theory on why this works so well for a lot of people. Hopefully, I'm hoping that I'm correct in this, or at the very least that it's a plausible theory. The fact that we have a blank slate character makes it easier, I posit, to relate to that character, because we can make it whatever we need. Whatever we need to relate to this protagonist, we can give them. Let's say I only relate to people with strong moral values. Well, then maybe my character's a paladin. Let's say I only relate to people that have shared my circumstances. So maybe this character is, what do you want to call it? You know, working class. Maybe he's not a noble. He's not a knight, actually. You know, we picked the knight class, but maybe all that means is he's had training. Maybe he's not a formal knight in the noble sense. Maybe he's a commoner. You know, stuff like that. We can decide that, and there's nothing in the game to stop us from that. All we know is that we're undead. That's the one thing we kind of can't avoid, but even that is kind of easily rectified. If we don't want to be a zombie, if we don't want to be undead, then we just have to stay alive. As simple as that is. Which is to say that it isn't. Because, hey, look, new enemy type. We'll surely live through this. Let's use a life gem here just to make sure. Okay. But yeah, if we don't want to be a zombie, then, well, don't fight those things. Just stay alive, which is also, I mean, granted, not that easy. Very, very difficult to stay alive in this game. But there are methods. The human effigy item, we have, I think, a couple of them at least. Shit. I was hoping I could kill him before he got that attack off. Okay, that could have gone better. But anyway, like I was saying, there are ways to stay alive if we just want to, you know, keep our character's face looking as whole as possible. There is a way to do that. I think I mentioned in an earlier video. It might have been last time, actually. Okay, where are we? I actually don't know where I am at this point. Wow. Okay, maybe I should have. I think I said I had the strategy guide. Maybe I should have looked at it before we went through here. Okay, let's see. Where the hell was I? I keep losing my train of thought. There's a ring that we can get. That's what it was, and it'll keep us from losing our souls and from losing our humanity when we die. The thing is, of course, every time we use it, so every time that we die, it breaks. So we have to repair it. But that's the thing. Since in this installment of the Souls games, you know, of the series, we can actually repair broken items. They don't just disappear. Actually, I think you could do that in Dark Souls. I think the only game that you couldn't was in Demon Souls. I might be wrong. But at the very least, even if there is a case where, yeah, you know what, you probably could repair items in, even if they broke in all three of these games, now that I think about it. But the main thing about this one is that this ring exists. And it doesn't just disappear. Actually, you know what? Now that I think okay, I'm getting this straight, folks. I'm sorry. In Dark Souls 1, there was a similar item. You could use it, and it would keep you from dying and losing your souls, but it would disappear after you used it, which means that there was a very limited supply of those things. But the way this one is structured, we can actually repair that same item, which means that basically all that we lose for dying is 3,000 souls. That's it, because that's how much it costs to repair. Now, that's not cheap, but it could be cheaper. Like, say, if we died right now, we have 4,900 souls. If we died right now, we'd lose all, 4,900, or we'd stand the chance to. But in exchange for 3,000, ooh, one of those. I'm gonna get it. Ah, damn it. No. Oh boy, that's not good. My broadsword is at risk, and I don't have a spare weapon. Shit. We need to find a bonfire soon. But yeah, if we were to die now, we'd stand the chance to lose 5,000 souls. 3,000 is better, objectively, than 5,000. We'd still have 2,000 to use. So it can definitely be worth it, particularly later on in the game, when you're having, 10,000, 20,000, 200,000, whatever. Like, it kind of gets ridiculous. Oh, there we go. I think I found the secret. We went through all that just to open a door so that we could get back here. Which might seem pointless, but at the same time it means that there's a bonfire nearby and we can repair our broadsword, because all that we need is to sit at a bonfire to repair our broadsword. So that's going to be it today, actually. We'll fight the boss next time. Bye-bye.